How you guys doing? Welcome back to Conversations Over Chess. The two individuals that are stopping by the podcast today are somebody who is special to me. They are the first brick and mortar for season two that are allowing me to stop by their place. BK Juices. I believe that we had met over a brief pop-up shop. I liked what you were doing, and then I was like, "Hey, can I interview you for the podcast?" And you said yes. Hailing from Brooklyn, correct?
Yes,
So
correct.
hailing from Brooklyn, all the way now in Frederick, Maryland. Please welcome Cutis and Kimberly to the
Thank you.
podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Doing wonderful.
Doing wonderful?
Great, great.
And you have to probably pick up the mic.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
I was going to say, I probably was only an hour drive coming out here, so it wasn't too bad. I was leaving from Southeast DC.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so obviously we are in your shop. I want to touch on a lot of different things, but the first place I want to start at is my background is in finance and accounting. And I know more than anybody else that it's not easy to get to this point financially, spiritually, everything, to have an actual physical location, right? Especially in the place that you're in proximity of. So the first place I want to start at is that dollar and the dream. So take me back to when this was just a thought on a piece of paper way back yonder, however many years ago. I know you guys launched in 2021. So take me back to that point of the starting point.
I'll let you start off.
Okay. The thought was about a decade old, but I didn't seriously think it was going to be something that was going to come into fruition. It was just like a hope that, oh, it'll be nice one day to have something similar to this. Originally, it was like a vegan restaurant.
Okay.
But with my background in athletics and personal training and things like that, and her background in the medical field,
Yeah.
it kind of came into fruition right
Good.
around about COVID time. We were talking about what would be something that we could venture in that would be beneficial to, helping people with health issues or just being more health conscious. And that's how the juice bar
Okay.
came into
You
effect.
guys are both practicing vegans, correct? Or is just yourself?
No, just him.
Just you. I was going to say, she
She's-
said, nah, I need
she's
I'm
those
vegan.
vegan
teetering on the
yams.
line. I'm
She-
teetering,
She's veganist. She rarely
Yeah.
eats meat. I think the more we get educated, it helps out.
Definitely.
Okay. And then were you always a part of, you guys have always been a part of that dollar and a dream mentality, or?
I think so.
And don't forget the mic.
I think so. I started dabbling in business
Okay.
probably 3 years prior to that, so 2018-ish.
All right.
And service is my background.
Definitely.
So this one, when the pandemic hit, and just trying to figure out how to keep the kids healthy, keep yourself healthy, and just realizing how uneducated people are about health,
Yes.
we just started collaborating, kind of thing. And
Stars aligned.
yeah,
One thing I wanted to ask you is, as a black man, most people don't necessarily focus on their health. What got you into becoming a vegan? Was it a health thing? Was it a preconceived, like, hey, I know my daddy's uncle twice removed had some stuff going on? Like, what was it that caused you to go vegan? Because my cousin is vegan, and she tells me about the benefits, and this might be TMI, so I won't say her name, but she's like, hey, it's my period is non-existent. There's certain things that's just health-wise are just overall great. So it's just like, what was it that drove you there to become a vegan?
A combination of a few things that you mentioned. The main one that sticks out was heart disease. A lot of my family members passed, all relative to some kind of heart disease. And so I knew if I didn't change my lifestyle, I would be next. I did it first as a fast, and then I felt so great afterwards, I just continued to go.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been a journey.
Okay. And then did you guys start out originally always in the store, or was it outside?
the first year and a half was pop-up shops.
Pop-up shops.
And online, and in gyms, local gyms.
Okay.
Yeah, it although we had found the location early on,
Definitely.
we didn't realize how much red tape and how many hoops you have to jump through.
Definitely.
And especially, honestly, in the area, stuff like that, it literally took about a year and a half to get this to the point where we could open. So We were operating the whole time, but we were operating, like I said, finding pop-up shops, farmers markets, anything that, at that point, anything, honestly.
Yeah.
We didn't even have it wasn't even industry based. We would, if there was a pop-up that was clothes based, we did that. And so that first year we took a lot of L's to get to that point, a lot of
Okay,
lessons
speak of the
learned.
pop-up shops, because as I did on the introduction, I had mentioned how we met over a pop-up shop, and that's something that doing research for the interview is that I seen that you guys are just pop-up shop intensive. Like you don't play around. Wherever there's it's in China. Okay, we'll be there. Shay Shay. Okay, so it's like where did that come from? Who thought of that idea to say, hey, pop-up shops is where we're going to start at, and then also give us a range. I'm not counting anybody's pocket. Give us a range of how much that cost is to just say, hey, we're going to that pop-up shop. Because one clothing line said, hey, I had to pay $500 to do 11 people that walk past. It might not be a return on that investment.
Well, funny enough, before we ever sold one juice, we sold merchandise. So the T-shirt that you're wearing now, the hats, we sold thousands of shirts and hats before ever selling the juice.
Okay.
So as far as the pop-up shops, there was a few. I think Soul Street here, in the streets festivals, any kind of vegan festivals, any kind of festivals that we knew that were going to be heavily populated, we just joined. Some of them you have to pay a hefty fee up front.
Yeah.
Some of them will just take a percentage off of what you do make.
Okay.
But for us, it was more important that we had the in-your-face advertisement, of what's to come, opposed to, how much money we can make off this pop-up event.
And you spoke on the losses a little bit. Are we saying economically? Are we saying just learning losses?
Now it's time to pay these bills.
This episode is brought to you by Heart and Soul Training. They're the premier sports and basketball training in DMV while also offering training sessions in Delaware and New Jersey. Training athletes of all ages from young kids to even pro athletes. Some pro athletes by the name of Jordan Allen, aka JA to you all, who just hit 13 threes down in Mexico. Also, they trained Martez Robinson, the personnel at Delaware State University, down to a MEAC conference finals. Heart and Soul Training, what are you waiting for? Go check them out. Details in the description or on the screen. Peace.
Now back to the podcast.
They were all of the above.
Okay.
So they were financial losses initially. It took us a good year of doing any kind of pop-up we could find to getting our niche and realizing that we need to be at health and wellness events. We needed to be at yoga events. We needed to be at farmers markets.
Yeah.
We needed to be around people who were more health conscious, so to speak. We even try to partner with schools. Just, we want to do the educational piece to it and educate the community and things like that. But we now know where we belong, so to speak. So
Definitely.
We won't necessarily do, a Jamaican festival, let's just say, or a beer festival. When we first started out, we took everything we could take. So we were throwing really a lot of money out there, and the return just wasn't worth it, because obviously if we're a health and wellness and we go to a beer fest, we got 3 people coming over to the table possibly, versus us doing a health and wellness where everyone's interested in it and everyone's asking questions and everyone may have done a fast or a detox before, so they're already educated on it and they just want to know how we can interact with that.
Definitely, for sure. And on a rough estimate for starting up with the hats and juices, what would you say that was? And then how much do you think you lost in that time? Because obviously we made it this far, so you overcame, but I'm sure there's bumps and bruises in the road.
I don't know if I could put a number to it, but everything was a learning experience. Even something as simple as creating the shirts, not knowing where to get the cheaper shirts from, or
quality.
Yeah.
Quality. Not cheaper as in quality, but cheaper as in a better deal, I should have said. Not knowing where to get them from, not knowing, to buy things in bulk to get them at a better price, or what would be, I guess, more durable after a wash, and just little things like that. Everything was a learning experience, from the shirts to when we actually had the brick and mortar and doing the plumbing one way without getting a permit or
Yeah.
I guess instructions from the city on how it should be done. Like a lot of those things.
The juicers, the
Yeah.
ice machine,
Yeah.
things having to be NSF certified. You don't know those things if you're not. I mean, those are things that take a lot of research. And sometimes even with doing research, you can overlook those very little details that
Definitely.
can definitely put a hinder on your
Yeah.
business.
And how much of the business side, and again, it's each one teach one, so I want individuals to take away like, hey, look, they went and did X, Y, and Z, or we cut it short this way because we already had the knowledge and the wherewithal. So how much of this business, because I'm in that world, was it, hey, I already know how to, prime example, I already know how to go file at Delaware and LLC, get running up within an hour. I know how to get the EIN, I know how to do all of that stuff, but there's certain things, if I wanted to go trademark and this, that, and the third, I might need to go consult a lawyer. This is a person that has, I don't have a CPA, but this is a person that has the wherewithal of a CPA, right? So how much of it was what, hey, I'm just Googling YouTube University and doing it yourself? And how much was it, hey, I'm gonna have to dish out to this lawyer to make sure this is done correctly?
Honestly, we did a lot of YouTube University.
Okay.
A lot of YouTube University. And I definitely, as good as it is, if you don't have the money to do it, if I
Yeah.
had it to do all over again, that would definitely be where a lot of my startup cash would have gone
Yeah.
versus, us
Learning on
putting
the
out
fly.
a product,
Yeah.
and learning on the fly. And I'm going to give you a really good example of a really big loss, so to speak.
Okay.
We got this brick and mortar location April of 2021.
Okay.
Okay. April or May of 2021. We didn't open this location till October of 2022.
Okay. That was definitely a
So,
question that's on my list, is
yeah.
because it seems like the launch to when the brick and mortar was open was just a year span. So it was the losses in between that delayed that opening.
It was the losses in between. We still had rental expenses here. We had a location that wasn't generating any money
Yes.
for almost over a year.
Yeah.
Big loss.
Definitely.
And a lot of people may fall into that trap if they don't know. So that was one of the biggest takeaways or lesson learned that we documented, and as we continue to grow, we continue to document these things.
Yes.
So that when we're ready to either play it back for somebody else, or somebody else is coming and has those questions and stuff, that we can be honest and upfront and transparent in what you don't want to do and how you don't want to do
Exactly.
it.
And I had told you briefly off camera, that's how I learned when my mom passed. I had to figure out, I'm at the crossroads, make a decision. Oh, that's the wrong world. I got to double back and now go back the correct way. One thing I wanted to ask, which I'm sure the consumer of this would want to know, is how did you guys stay afloat during that time? Because it's different when me and my brother are starting up a trunking company and I'm working my 9 to 5 and I'm driving somebody else's truck and I'm working overnights at the hotel and I'm working 3,000 jobs. So how are you guys staying afloat during that time?
Working 3,000 jobs.
Okay.
Working 3,000 jobs, literally. I had a full-time 9 to 5.
All right.
At the time, I had a trucking business as well. So that's where a lot of the initial startup capital came from,
Yeah.
things like that. He was also working full-time job, and we continued to kind of throw good money after bad a little bit,
Yeah.
as we were making our way. And the one positive thing about it was us getting out there. That
Definitely.
is one thing that, no matter the bumps and bruises, it was worth it in that respect, to get our name out there, and to people literally as far down as Virginia have either come here or
Yeah.
we've been in Virginia and go, oh, I know you were at this event or
Definitely.
something along those lines. So getting us out there the way that we did, even though we did take some losses, was detriment to the success of this brick and mortar, for sure.
Definitely. You had mentioned people coming from all over. Obviously, I met you in Dunloring, Virginia. You guys are all the way in Frederick. That is a drive. How far are you guys willing to go to get the name out there?
We would commute 3 hours a day, most days, just to come to the store from where we were living.
Okay.
As far as events, we try to keep the events within an hour range, but we have did events 2 hours away. If the people are going to be there and it's worth us going, then we'll be there.
Definitely. Uh, Researching you guys, looking on you guys' website, see that you guys have everything from breakfast, lunch, dinner. You have the allotment of everything healthy. One thing that stuck out to me though was the naming conventions. You have Cold Killer, Mad Thirsty, and Put Me On as some of the items that are on the menu. So speak to the naming conventions. Where did that come about? Is that just the New York in you guys? Like, talk to that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely New York in us. We also try to find catchy names that'll be conversation pieces. People find it funny just walking by, seeing the name on the board, and not interested in what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and we also try to name the drinks describing, what ailments we're trying to attack or um, assist with. That's one of the bigger things that I think separates us from a lot of other juice companies, is that our juices taste good, but they're made to assist with some kind of concern or ailment that you have.
Speak to those elements a little bit because we have mentioned briefly early on in the conversation about the healthiness side of it. What are those healthy ingredients?
Um, so the cold killer, one that you just mentioned, has elderberry, zinc, ginger, cranberry, um,
Echinacea.
echinacea,
Mhm.
um, echinacea and elderberry, both plants that are known um, heavily in the is it medical world?
Well, they're all ancient. They
Yeah.
come from ancient. Um,
Yes, original medicine.
Yeah, original. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Ginger. Ginger. You'll see in a lot of our. Ginger. You'll see in a lot of our ingredient in a lot of our juices. It's known for gut health.
Yeah.
We're very big on gut health. Believe it or not, weight is a number one factor in a lot of ailments.
Okay.
So someone that struggles with weight issues will probably have are more likely to have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart issues. So a lot of it comes back down to gut health.
Yeah.
And as a woman, I know firsthand that we struggle more with gut health
Yeah.
than men typically do. So we try to make that one of our key ingredients in a lot of our drinks. So not just about weight loss, but just about having those essential ingredients in these things that's going to do a little bit of everything.
Okay. One thing that you had spoken about briefly is that the losses that you took in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting to this point in your journey. Um, Speak to the importance of protecting your brand because again doing research I seen that you guys Instagram had gotten hacked and outside of the Instagram getting hacked outside factors whether it be family friends road
Mm-hmm.
family and friends right
Mm-hmm.
speak to the importance of protecting the brand because BK Juices is not just a local thing this is
Mm-hmm.
world known
Mm-hmm.
right so there's a lot of protection investments time
Mm-hmm.
money everything that you put into it so speak to the things that you do to protect your brand.
Well, trademarking is number one, and that does require an attorney's assistance.
Yes.
I believe you can do it yourself, actually, but if you're not versed in that,
Yes.
my suggestion, if nothing else, there's a lot of things that we did on our own, and you can kind of, maneuver around and finagle
Definitely.
and find your way, fumble in the dark, so to speak. Trademarking isn't one of them, though. So that's, I would say, one of the biggest things to do to protect your brand. Make sure those passwords, as crazy as it sounds, because social media is something that everyone uses, and it is surefirably the best way for a hacker or someone that wants to
Yes.
get to you. And then they have access to your customers, which is the biggest thing. Your followers, your customers, even if it's not their personal information.
Mhm.
But if you're speaking to me, because we have a lot of customers who actually place orders through online service. So if you're talking to me and think that it's me you're talking to and you're not,
Yeah.
you're liable to give a lot of information. You're liable to do what the person on the other end is asking. So making sure that you have those clad iron passwords and things like that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think another way that we protect our brand is kind of sticking to like keeping it family oriented as far as like who assists us with doing these events or working in the shop. We don't let a lot of outside people in. I don't know. I guess that protects the brand as well.
Oh, absolutely. It protects the brand. Whoever works for us and with us,
Definitely.
is the face of the company for that at that time.
Yes.
So definitely we try to keep it, close knit and close to home, and people who have the same vision we have.
Yes.
As you can see, I was telling you earlier, the manager of the store is our daughter.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that work in our events and markets are our sons,
Definitely.
kids, like close family.
And I can actually speak to that a little bit because I had met you one day after church and asked if I can interview you. But then it was that following Sunday that I had saw your son. And I had said, hey, reach out to your mom, make sure I can get her number, make sure it's okay. And then he was like, okay, it's good to give it to you. So that's how close-knit and into the family that I've seen it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like this. It's all in the family.
And that's the youngest one.
Yeah, and I was going to say every single ethnic group does it, and it's just like, why can't, other individuals like ourselves do the same thing? So I understand that all too well. Was that a conscious decision because of, hey, look, I could probably cut back expenses by hiring another employee or doing X, Y, and Z? So it was conscious to say, hey, look, we're keeping this in the family. Go ahead, get them working papers. Go ahead, go sweep them floor, mop them. Look, you want allowance, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a conscious decision, and not just because, we can slave labor. I'm just playing.
It's all right. So you can't say no. How about that?
Exactly. You want to eat late right now.
You want that basketball game, that new 2K you want, right?
That, like you just spoke to, every other nationality does that.
Yes.
And you don't see a lot of us. You don't see a lot of us in business, first off.
Definitely.
The resources are harder for us. So having them up close and personal, working with us so that they can see where the money comes from that they have their hand out for.
Yes.
So that they also feel a part of it. Because one day, God willing that it's a long time from now, we won't be here, and we want them to have sweat. We want them to have blood invested in it, and it means something, and not just a means of some money that was coming through when they were kids.
Definitely. And did you want to add on to them?
No, I think she described it perfectly. It wasn't just us needing the help. We wanted them to have the hands-on experience. So if we venture off to do something different, or when we're not here, I think people respect a business more if it's not just thrown to them, but if they actually have something invested,
something they earn. I always say very frequently in every episode is monkey see, monkey do. Who was those individuals for you that taught you financial literacy in any capacity? It could have been the hustle boys in the corner of Brooklyn, the Bed-Stuy. It could have been anybody, right? Because you can learn from everybody, the janitor to the CEO. So who were those individuals that taught you the financial literacy game? And it doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, here's accounting, but they put game in your head, business-wise.
For me, it was definitely seeing guys in the street create something out of nothing. My stepdad was a business owner, so I think it's important when we say Black-owned business. When I was a kid, I didn't see many Black business owners, so I didn't think it was possible. Seeing it in my household made me, say, hey, I want to do that someday. As of current, we go to a lot of expos, financial expos or whatever. But right in the home, she's my inspiration. She's always got some business ideas thrown around. Half of the time, I'm looking at her like she's crazy because they vary from one end to the other. But I mean, I find it really attractive to always want to just do better, not for just herself. Everything that she's thinking of always involves everyone.
Yeah.
Immediate family in the house, friends and family. What can we do to grow? I'm sorry if that was all over the place, but
no, that's actually perfect, and you touched on a lot of things. I'd be remiss not to point out the obvious fact of Black love as well.
Right.
Not only is it Black-owned businesses, but it's Black love, and we'll touch on that in just a second. But I wanted to know who taught you the whole financial literacy side in general.
Life taught me it. I lost my mother very young.
Sorry to hear
and my
that.
father shortly behind it. Thank you. And just realizing very early in life that the people that would have me have my back no matter what, so to speak,
Yeah.
were no longer here. So trying to figure it out and navigate very young. I was a teenage mother.
Okay.
So not only was I responsible for myself before I really knew how to be responsible for myself, I also had a child.
How young were you?
I had her right after my 18th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the time I was 23, I had 3 children.
All right.
And as crazy as this sounds, saying it out loud, my biggest fear was being a statistic. Having somebody say, "Oh, this is what to expect from somebody." No. So I was determined to defy all of those odds.
Definitely.
And I definitely did that. So life taught me early.
No, I believe that life experience is better than any other books or any book smart that you can ever get. It does not matter how much you read in that textbook, how much of a good grade you got. I just went and did it and figured it out, and I'll always have that advantage in living out my own life. That's the journey and path that I took.
Right.
I was working in accounting before I even had the accounting degree. I was like, yo, I'm battling with Harvard. Harvard is getting this fancy degree. I got experience. I could deliver faster than Harvard.
Yeah,
I got
definitely.
the experience.
Now it's time to pay these bills.
Think global, act local. Wrld Izyorz offers the coolest men's fashion and accessories, available at 104 William Street in Newburgh, New York, my hometown. It's also available at wrldizyorz.com. That is WRLDIZYORZ.com. Get you some.
Now back to the podcast.
Definitely.
One thing I wanted to touch on is the black love side, right? You just mentioned 3 kids at before the age of what, 20?
By 23.
By 23. 3 kids by 23, right? And this individual, we were speaking a little bit off camera, just making little jokes about how that ain't my daughter over there. I always tell people frequently, because I'm a single black male, no kids, no responsibilities, is that the person that I want to find, I want them to love me in spite of. And whatever that in spite of comes after that. And here I am standing in front of an individual who loved you in spite of. So speak to how much you guys have elevated each other and in which ways.
Oh, man. Our story we call ourselves the Brooklyn love story.
Okay.
The story.
Not Bronx Tale, Brooklyn. Get it right. Brooklyn, baby.
Definitely.
My mother's from Brooklyn too, by the way.
Oh, see? Yeah. We were childhood friends.
Okay.
We reconnected later in life.
Oh, he been plotting on you a long time then.
He won't admit it. He won't admit it.
He said she's still with such and such. Oh, I'll wait 10 more years.
We kept in touch on and off throughout the years and stuff
he
like
knew what
that.
he was doing. They didn't have DMs back then, but he was sliding in them.
In 2020, we reconnected at my brother's house, actually.
Okay. He said he was lonely, COVID. She can't be with nobody else right now. You got your space and opportunity.
Well, we were definitely on the phone talking every day.
There you go.
And texting and so on and so forth, because he was living in New York again.
Okay.
I was down here. And so that went on for some months. And then he started frequenting down here. So we started talking more about business, though.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a trucking business at the time. And he was heavily into like the health industry and stuff like that, or what have you. My background was nursing and emergency management.
Okay.
So service altogether. And so we just started bouncing ideas off of, and that was very attractive to me because there's not too many people, friends or otherwise, that I can have conversations with about business, and they're interested. They're interested for 5 minutes, and they want to talk about gossip or what man did,
Bad Girls Club.
Who did that. Right, exactly. So the fact that we could talk for hours about business alone was so dope to me.
Yeah.
And then I realized he had been plotting on me for a while.
I know. Look.
But yeah, the story goes back a long way as far as knowing each other. I think that helps in the success.
You've been together for how long now?
A little over 3 years.
A little over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
How have you guys elevated each other in that 3-year span? Because it seems like 3 years, the store was built during that bond, and it's just like we fighting tooth and nail already with that, so we got to have this right here intact.
The friendship, definitely, but I think how we motivate each other is just every day we set out to do something different. We write our vision boards together. We do everything together, if I'm being honest with you. There's not much we don't, and so the fact that we get along and have so many things in common,
definitely,
I think helps. One of the things I would say he was a little bit weaker in is procrastination.
Okay.
And so I'm constantly not I don't think I'm overbearing, and so far he hasn't told me I'm overbearing with it, but I'm constantly like, okay, so what are we going to do towards this?
Yeah.
You know, on his list of goals, we have team goals and then we have individual goals, and he does the same for me. Like, you know, one of the biggest things I will say is motivating myself to get up and go to the gym.
Okay.
I'm always busy. I'm always behind the computer, and he's like, put it down.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
go
go.
walk.
Yeah.
Let's go, you know, whatever it is, whatever stage I'm in, he's like, let's go do this. A little bit of this. And he know I like scenery and stuff like that. He'll find different places for us to walk. That's a big deal to me. So that's, I would definitely say that's his biggest motivation.
And then what about yourself?
I think what is important that we learned really fast is communication. I know it sounds cliche, so many people say it, but I can't tell what's in someone else's head.
Yeah.
You can't tell what's in mine. If we don't communicate, then it's not going to last. So although we talk about, you know, us doing business constantly and bouncing ideas off of it, that's attractive to me as well. Not so much of the business aspect, but the fact that she wants better for herself.
Yeah.
And being that we do so many things together, I think what also attracted me to her was the importance of family and you know, I think we all have similar stories. I lost my mom in 2019, my brother shortly after, my son shortly after that.
Dang.
Through all of that, she's been by my side, you know, and you know, when I don't feel like existing at times, she reminds me why it's important.
Yeah.
Again, we motivate each other, not just on business, but just to be better. And with the communication of telling someone how to love you, because I think a lot of times we love people the way we know how to.
Yes,
or
with the tools that we were given.
Tools that we were given, or the way we think that they should be loved. Like, oh, I just gave you this, you know, and for a long time of, you know, dating and, you know, throughout, I'm 48 years old, I always thought that if I did something for somebody, whether it's monetary or any kind of acts of
kindness
or service or whatever, then that would be important. But if that person doesn't receive it that way, then it's not important. So it's a kind of a game for me to kind of learn what her likes and dislikes are, and it brings me joy to learn the like and then be able to give that to her.
Yeah.
You know.
No, for sure. I had to learn that as well. I just was a big gift giver, and I didn't understand that it was just the little things. Like, hey, I like little just written notes. Okay, my handwriting is the worst handwriting in the world, but if that's what my woman wants and needs, I need to meet her where she's at. So now where I'm at in my whole love life and journey is that I meet people where they're at. And I might not be able to make you all the way, but I definitely am willing to meet you halfway there, because I had to grow and understand and learn that relationships is about being selfless. You can't be selfish in a relationship. And that's one thing that I was always worried about me, what I got out of it, this, that, and the third. But then you realize, like, oh, in order to thoroughly, properly love this individual, you have to understand what makes them tick, what makes them scratch, what makes them just go, motivates them, this, that, and the third, and how to even build them up when they're tearing down themselves. So that's something that I was like, okay, through just trial and error and making a lot of mistakes, you get to that point.
I think, honestly, forgetting everything you think you know.
Yes.
When you meet someone else, when you find that person, it's not hard.
Yeah.
It really, relationships are not hard when you're with your person. I think you may have ups and downs, because that's just life.
Definitely.
Everything's cyclical. You're gonna have those peaks and valleys, but even during those valleys, it's easier.
Yeah.
You know, I think anybody over the age of 25 probably has had some experience.
Now it's time to pay these bills.
This episode is brought to you by DJ DMC. For any parties, kickbacks, and weddings, DJ DMC has your back. You can find him on Instagram at DMC the GOAT, on Instagram at DMC the GOAT. Please be prepared to pay the cost as seen on my shirt. He also makes his clothing line, great premier brand, and be sure to reach out to his Instagram as well at Pay the Cost LLC on Instagram. That is Pay the Cost LLC on Instagram. Get you some.
Now back to the podcast.
I've learned through doing this across 20 episodes is that nobody has had a straight path. Nobody. This file is, that's nobody. The people that you think are the cream of the crop and have all the Harvards and that, no. Daddy killed himself. Mommy offed himself. Like, there's nobody with a straight path. And you have to understand that when you try to judge somebody. You have to understand that when you're out here just every single ism that you're blaming, no, not everybody had it as easy as you thought they did.
Yeah.
So
And to add to that also, I think you have to know yourself and kind of understand what you want from someone else, because
yes,
if you don't love yourself or take care of yourself or whatever, you can't expect someone else to give you something or to compensate for that.
Definitely.
Whatever. So.
I live that out as well, where it's just like, hey, I had to love me. If I can't thoroughly love my own self first, how can I thoroughly and adequately love you?
Right.
And you'll act out, you do this.
Receive it, correct.
Yeah, that's even exactly.
Yeah.
And boy,
Yeah,
that was a journey in of itself. That's another episode.
Kidding. But I think that's what a lot of people come into relationships looking for, someone to make them happy. You have to be happy, and you have to know how to be alone with yourself before you can offer that to somebody else.
Literally. And I'm going to look into the camera, let anybody know. I encourage people, whether it be for 1 week, 1 day, to be alone. And that's something that my aunt used to always tell me. Is like, yo, you always in a relationship. It's woman after woman after woman. You always in something. And I understand I was filling the void, but I understand that, like, look, I do have to be alone. Because I got to understand that, okay, it's just space and time that's being filled up, and it's not thoroughly enjoying that individual or wanting to learn them. Yeah. So that's something that I'll probably take away from this myself, is just like, you know what? Have that joy in learning that individual. It isn't about the physical. It is about this. That fades away. So let's get into the nitty gritty of how can I adequately love you. So I definitely understand that for sure all too well. And I appreciate you guys for sure. I'm sure it's been a journey.
It has, but one worth taking.
Yeah. So. No, for sure. I was going to say, one question that I wanted to speak on is, I seen that you guys had a bunch of testimonials on website. Speak to how much joy that brings you to, because again, we're in a Black community where people are dying young for X, Y, and Z reasons, and it's just due to lack of education. So the simple fact that you guys put out a post, put out a juice, put your sweat equity into something to say, hey, this now helped me. How does that bring joy into your life?
I think most importantly, we had to have a why, and the why had to be strong enough to keep going. When we started, we were really excited about this venture, and we were under the impression that I know 1 million people, we're going to do well.
Yeah.
The wake-up call was our biggest supporters were strangers. You'd be surprised how many people will pour into you if they see that you have a vision and you're determined to see that vision through. Yeah. We were getting tips from a popcorn vendor that said, hey, you know what, your product could do well here. People coming in, hey, I like the way this looks. I saw you on your knees putting the floor down. I can't wait for you to open. I'll tell all my friends about it or whatever. So those kind of things help, motivate us to keep going. We started seeing the progress, the flowers blooming from our seeds put in. Yeah. That helped as well. But back to my original statement, our why had to be strong enough to keep going. So when you see those faces that, our kids in the household to say, hey, you said you were going to do this or whatever, and you don't want to disappoint them or whatever. Those kind of things help keep going. My relatives that passed away, I told them on their deathbed that I would do such and such. Yeah. And I didn't want to look like a liar, disappoint them. So that kept me going as well.
Those testimonies, that seeing people come back and having the people come to us and say, oh, I can't wait to give you a review. Yeah. I can't wait to tell so-and-so about you. Or the ones that come in here with small children who wouldn't eat a vegetable and now they drink our green juice every day, or someone who is heavy into trying to maintain their weight or lose weight, or one of those types of things, and they come in and say I lost 30 pounds, or they put up there that they lost 30 pounds and their high blood pressure's gone, or things like that lets us know that this is the right place, this is the right thing to be doing, because you can make money doing a lot of things. And this isn't one of those high glam positions or industries or what have you that you're going to get rich off of. It's not. So it has to be in here. Meaning. It has to be deep, right? It has to mean something to you, and those reviews, those stars, those high fives, that's what does it.
Definitely. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way, right? Take us back to where you guys grew up. Where you at from the city, Tell me about the Brooklyn days. Because I grew up in upstate New York, Newburgh, New York, which is about an hour outside the Bronx. I physically, you know about Newburgh? Mm-hmm. I physically, within the last probably year and a half, lived in Pelham Bay, the Bronx, and that was like a whirlwind for me. I enjoyed everything about it. I'm like, yo, everybody speaks Spanish in the Bronx. I need 4K, mira, aquí. Like, I was like, y'all need to learn Spanish ASAP over here. But I lived and died on that 456 train because I worked in Manhattan. I know a bunch of kids from the Bronx that I worked with, from Brooklyn that I worked with. I was never really frequent there. Obviously, I told you my mother was from there. So tell us about the city days.
Now it's time to pay these bills.
This episode is brought to you by Toes clothing brand, the hottest streetwear from the DC area, based on the principle of community, perseverance, and integrity. From the community, for the community. Stand for something, or you fall for anything. Shop online at 110toes.com. That is the number 1 TENTOES.com, and follow on Instagram at 110Toes LLC. That is the number 1 TENTOES LLC. We are 10 Toes. Get you some.
Now back to the podcast,
man.
Well, first I'm gonna tell you we forgive you for going to the Bronx and not to Brooklyn, okay? Because we don't necessarily, No, we welcome everybody, but the Brooklyn days, East New York, both from the same place. Well, born and raised in East New York. Yeah. He came a little later, 9-ish, 10-ish. He'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But we used to literally hang out at the teen center in East New York. That was the place that kept kids off the street. And, we came up we were teens in the 90s.
Definitely.
So that was a heavy crack era. That was a heavy drug era. And that was our safe haven. That was our place to go where we could hang out with each other and not be on the corner. And the guys played basketball and we looked cute and watched. And those are definitely memories that stick with me, especially when my own children, and just seeing that era, the generation now, they don't even go outside. No, for real. Let alone interact the way we did all the time. We, from early to late, we're together, we're hanging out, we're going to get pizza, with that kind of thing. Yeah. So definitely fond memories for me.
Yeah. The Brooklyn days, oh man, seems like it's so long ago. But yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood. I was a hood basketball star. Well, I thought I was. I just knew I was going to go to the NBA, especially because I played against guys who eventually went to the NBA. Okay. But I had a mentor at the time that would take me all over New York. And I didn't know at the time, but they were gambling heavy on the games. Oh, okay. So my mother. What's that, above the rim? You they was pulling out the gun? Funny enough, a bunch of my friends was in that movie. I was supposed to be in the movie, but I had to take SATs that day, so I had to do
nobody needs the SAT. What's wrong with you? You could have been Denzel.
At the time, I thought it was gonna, help elevate me or whatever. But yeah, I would have never envisioned this back then, but I did know I wanted to be an owner of something. Yeah, I wanted to see my name in lights some way or another. But yeah, we're pretty fortunate to be here talking now, because as fun as those streets were, they were really dangerous. Yeah, really dangerous. We lost a lot of people growing up, a lot of friends. I think there should be some kind of
document series.
Nah, some kind of I don't know, someone you could talk to for the trauma that we've experienced, because it's not normal to be going to funerals,
Yeah.
several funerals before you're age 17, or just knowing your friend took his life, or somebody. We had a mutual friend that jumped off a 20-story building.
Dang.
You know, these are things that are just normal conversation for us, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like those are traumatic experiences. So again, I believe it's really, really fortunate to be here to be able to tell this story, because a lot of our direct friends and relatives did not make it through those times of growing up in East New York.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not normal, and it's crazy because a lot of that's frequent in our community back then and even now. And I feel like it's some of the saddest things that I could like. It just really makes me feel a specific way, especially when it's our kind killing our kind. Like prime example, the whole Nipsey Hussle thing, like that. Like it really affected me up here. I didn't know the man. I obviously no personal relationship, but stuff like that really does affect me as a black man because I'm like, yo, like.
Yeah.
So much wants to do for his own community, this, that, and the third, and then in the manner that he was gunned down, it's just like, it's just crazy, and it's really extremely sad. One thing that I wanted to ask was about the red tape. Obviously, from Brooklyn down to Frederick, Maryland, it's a vast difference. Being black in this community, obviously in a predominantly white community, which I'm sure the percentages is getting changing in our favor, but what was that red tape like? Was it review after review after review to, hey, let's triple check this bank statement? Like, what was that? Speak to that specifically, because again, it's an each one teach one.
Absolutely. The red tape, like you said, first of all, Brooklyn to Frederick, a whole different world.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we're older, you know, in our 40s, and so there were a lot of stops along the way. But coming here, specifically setting up here, it was strategic.
Okay.
We like the community aspect of it. Historic downtown brings a lot of consumers, certain types of consumers.
Definitely.
But with that being said, brought a lot of, like I said, the red tape.
Yeah.
It brought a lot of no's before the yeses. It brought a lot of time. Time is always money.
Yes,
so
it is.
Spending money on a building that just sat for a really long time as we're trying to navigate and figure out, because the reality of it is nobody was helping us initially.
Yeah.
Nobody was helping us. And then talking to other business owners around the area that don't look necessarily like us and seemingly not having the same experiences seemingly as we did also. It frustrated us, but it made us more determined that this was going to open and this was going to be successful and we were going to be here for some time to come.
Definitely.
Exactly.
So it fed the fire, but it definitely, there was definitely a lot of frustrating and expensive moments in that, for sure.
As far as the red tape, or the comparison from Brooklyn to here, we all know you could set up on a corner in Brooklyn and just do your thing without much backlash. Eventually, you're gonna need a permit or whatever, but you could be rich by the time that happens.
Yeah.
Frederick, we did like the community aspect of it. A lot of people will frequent a mom and pop shop before a well-known establishment, and we love that idea of things. I think that was one of the main reasons why we set up shop here. The red tape that we endured was a lot of things with like the health department and things of that nature, and also the time that we were trying to do it. We're coming off of COVID where a lot of businesses were closed or whatever, so now we're waiting for permits and answers and things like that. But talking to other business owners here, they kind of told us not to kind of take it too personal, that they have to be kind of diligent on what they allow to kind of, protect people with serving unpasteurized juice and things like that. So once we got out of the emotions of it, and did what we had to do, I was advised by other business owners that once you got through, you would be okay. I feel that that's happening now.
Definitely.
They're not on our necks as much. There was a few things that, I'm going to be honest, it didn't make sense. I'll give you an example. We didn't have to have our front ADA regulated
Okay.
to be able to have someone in a wheelchair here. They wanted us to ADA regulate our bathroom to make it wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
But yet we have steps here where a wheelchair can't even get in. So it's a contradiction.
Yeah.
Why do I have to
So make it make sense.
widen the bathroom if you can't even get in here with a wheelchair?
Yeah.
So it's things like that. And then walking into other establishments saying that, well, they didn't make them do this. Why are they on our neck about doing it? So again, once we took the emotions out of it and did our due diligence to find the right way to do things or whatever, it's kind of smooth sailing from there.
I just want to piggyback one more thing off of that. What I would say is joining those organizations that allow your voice to be heard.
Yeah.
So we are a member of the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, there you
We're
go.
also now a member of Frederick Chamber of Commerce.
Downtown.
So just downtown partnership, just becoming involved. It's one thing to feel a way and then just sit back and allow things to happen to you. And then it's another thing to take steps toward either changing those things that aren't or shouldn't be happening. And the only way to do that is to have a voice. So being involved in those different organizations that will allow you to.
I'm sure I'm misquoting the individual, but I believe it was Angela Davis. She said, "Don't get mad, get smart."
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I can tell you right now is that it was hard for me in life to take the emotions out of it. Oh, but this, but that, but they're related. Nah, that's my emotion speaking. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody owes me a thing. And that's something that I had to learn is like, yo, I'm too emotionally involved.
She'll tell you, I stress that quote so much that, once you're way too emotionally attached to something, you don't think straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're going to move based on your feeling at the time. So whatever that emotion is, you're going to react based on that feeling at the time, opposed to just step back and assessing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Definitely.
Last two questions. The one that I want to know is what is next for you guys, both individually, right, as a couple, and then what's next for BK Juices?
Want me to go first?
Of course.
Individually, I'm working on a degree.
Okay.
So I think that's the one check that I haven't checked off yet. I've established a lot of things without that, but I think for me and in my mind and what I want to do is check that block.
Okay. What you studying?
It's going to be in emergency management.
Right.
I still work a full-time job.
All right.
So yes, that's gonna be my individual. Business-wise, we just opened up another business.
Okay.
Which is a real estate and travel service. So we're starting a new venture, investing in properties and Airbnbs and things of that nature. And we're also looking in the travel industry.
There you go. So
that is what's next for those two things. As far as what I feel BK Juices, we have talked about it a lot. We don't know whether we want to franchise it or just open up other locations. But the most immediate on the horizon, which means in the next month or two, we'll have a mobile unit as well.
Hey,
so we'll be adding that to.
This is an exclusive.
Yes, just out. So that should be unveiling in the next month or two, just in time for these spring and summer big festivals where we probably will take our show on the road to South and things like that. So that's the immediate for BK Juices. What about you?
So individually, I think I'm gonna put way more focus into BK Juices, but on the side, I do have a background of car sales or whatever. So I'm gonna renew my license to sell from. I don't want to deal with the public, so I'm just gonna sell from auction to dealership or auction to auction.
Okay.
But that's just a little side hustle on the side. As far as BK Juices, yes, I do want another location. We were talking like either the Baltimore National Harbor
That'd be nice.
area, then eventually somewhere down south, whether it's Miami or Texas or something. Not sure if it's going to be franchised or just another location. We're just now getting comfortable with the if you get 10% of 10 people's efforts, that's still 100%, opposed to trying to
do it all.
Do it all. Be too many places at one time. So we're getting comfortable with that. But like we said earlier, we don't want to jeopardize the brand by just allowing anybody to work in here.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's about it. The real estate that she spoke about, we're talking about that heavily. So
yeah, I just say that seems to be a running theme, and even with the pop-up shops, it's like, hey, look, we don't have to go find them because we can just say, here's $200 and be where there's 2 million people. So I see that it's like a very thoughtful and intentional to say, hey, like, how can we be a lot smarter about how we're going to, skin this cat? So, and I remember you saying that you know the game of chess, you know a little bit of the moves, but you don't necessarily play too often. And now you're saying that you don't play at all. The question that we typically end the game, end the podcast with is, if when individuals who don't know how to play, we say, what is one piece of advice that you would give the world to save them some heartache and pain? And you'll look into the camera. And the people that do know how to play would say, what's your favorite chess piece and why? So you'll answer that question, what's your favorite chess piece and why? And then you'll look into the camera and tell the entire world, if the entire world is watching, what would be your best advice to save them some heartache and pain?
My best advice that'll save the world some heartache.
You can do both if you want.
Yeah.
You're supposed to answer who has the what's your favorite chess piece and why, but you can answer both.
My favorite chess piece would be the pawn.
Okay, why is that? You're the only person to say the pawn. Why is your
because I think it has the freedom, correct me if I'm wrong, it has the freedom to move different ways.
No. I was going to say the pawn only moves forward.
Forward?
Yeah.
Which one has the freedom to move?
The knight is the one that can move in many different ways.
Okay.
I was going to say, because I was saying the pawn is always,
right.
You can only go forward,
so
you can't go back,
my favorite piece would be the knight, because it has the freedom to go different ways. I don't like to be kind of, I guess, placed in a bubble and predicted.
Definitely.
And if I could save somebody some heartache, the one piece of advice that I would give again is to kind of gain knowledge of self, know who you are, so that way you know how to be loved or how to be respected or where you came from. Yeah. So that way you can know where you're going.
Okay, 5%er.
Definitely the era.
Yes.
Definitely.
And then what about you,
if I could offer one piece of advice to the world, it would probably be try it. I don't care what it is. I don't care, who told you couldn't. Try it. The only way to fail is to not try it. Everything else is a lesson. So try it. That's if I could offer anything, it's how I live my life. It's how I've always lived my life. I don't think that's by accident either.
Yeah. Every shot you don't take, you miss.
That's a fact. Big facts. Yeah. Miss Kimberly, Mr. Curtis, Mr. and Mrs. BK Juices, thank you guys for coming across the podcast. See you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you.
Shout out to our sponsors, too.
Nothing ever comes to a sleeper but a dream. So I'm woke, try and get that money any means. Used to watch mom sweat them clothes to get them clean. Grew up in the slums, ain't shit that I ain't seen. And it's still free, all the guys till they free. Couple niggas crippin' and the others throwing bees. One thing for sure, they gon' all ride for me. Cause we ain't never phased no gang family.
Damn, what a blessing, all them low nights had me stressing. Praying to the maker, hoping someone get this message. Throw that yak back just to kind pressure. Cause I can't afford the rules, not when I'm the prize possession.
Took a couple L's, but we like to call those lessons. Coming from the burg, I was taught to pay attention. Cause no snakes out hissing and they'll sneak you in a second. For that I keep a circle that be tighter than a virgin. Couple niggas screaming, fuck the law, ready for purging. Tell them let the 40 touch a nigga like it's flirting. A lot of hidden hate, oh, y'all thought y'all was lurking. But ain't no time to lack, nah, I'm always observant. Grew up in the field, but I never played the corner. Still could jam a nigga if I don't like the route he running. I've been underground, running around like head tummy. Came from the bottom, I swear I started with nothing. So how can niggas hate? I swear to love it all be fake. Smiling in my face but wanna do me like I'm ace. That's why I say my grace before I put them on a plate. Cause I know I'm too important like a fucking uppercase. And life is like a race, it's just all about the pace. For a little money, dudes become a big disgrace. The fake come and go, but the real can't be replaced. They say the sky's the limit, only limit I embrace. And I'm about $1, no surprise I get the cake. Cause I was taught to hustle in any weather, cannot wait. I done had to starve just to make sure others ate. My pain versus your hurt is something that cannot relate. They try to lock the door, I kick that bitch like Kevin Gates. Couple roadblocks I ran through like I was free. Heart of a lion, I was molded by the apes. That's why I stand tall and never fall, ain't no debate. I'm on a mission, I gotta get it. For all them long nights, the oven had to heat the kitchen. For all them starving nights, I went to sleep just to forget it. No food, but the sink was always full of dishes. Check the refrigerator, knowing nothing even in it. Nights like that can turn a young boy into a menace. Same reason I don't give a fuck about no feelings. Cause I'ma be starving till I count 100 million. Part of my back, nigga.